For 15 years, DJ Bob has been your go-to source for pop culture, past and present. We eat, sleep, and breathe pop culture, just like you. He's interviewed countless fascinating people, from well-known names to everyday heroes.
DJ Bob connects with his guests on a personal level, exploring their stories, passions, and challenges.
He's not just interviewing, he's building a community of like-minded, inspiring, driven, and talented individuals.
Join DJ Bob as he delves into the world of entertainment and the conversations that matter on all levels. This is the DJ Bob Show. Roll it.
High School Musical turns 20. You know the stars. But who are some of the people at Disney Channel and Radio Disney that brought it to us? Well, we're going to talk to some of those unsung heroes today. First up, Robin Jones, the VP of Programming at Radio Disney from 1996 to 2007. Then we're going to talk to Kimberly Luce, Director of Program Scheduling at Disney Channel at the time of High School Musical's boom, and the head of original movies at Disney Channel from about 1997 to 2013, Michael Healy. We got a packed house, but a good house at that. We're all in this together. Enjoy. So, Robin, happy 20 years of High School Musical.
Crazy. Just crazy.
It's so good to have you back here.
Oh, it's good to be here.
Well, first I want to start off with this before we get into the High School Musical of it all. What was your relationship with the channel as far as getting content from the channel to airplay for Radio Disney?
Well, the vice president of programming, I don't know what his title was at the time, Gary Marsh, whom I adored, was connected with me. And when I would go to Burbank, so, I lived in Dallas, but I went to Burbank every other week. And I would meet with Gary and learn about what they had coming up. And he's a super nice guy, and he's still there. It's crazy. And he sent me, for High School Musical, he sent me a rough edit. So it still had the time code on it and all that. It was one of their rough edits of the show. And he said, I think I have something. I want you to see it. So he sent it to me. And so where I lived in Dallas, my house was a long ranch style home. So I would get up early in the morning, go to the other side of the house and work out. Well, I was on my elliptical and I was watching this musical. So when my husband finally gets up and he comes over and he's like, what are you doing? I'm watching this movie and I'm like, it's really good. And that's how I learned about High School Musical, watching it on my elliptical early in the wee hours of the morning, just getting enthralled by how awesome it was. I mean, the music was great. The plot was fun. It was just such a fun film. Such a fun film.
And nobody knew that it was going to be this cultural icon.
Right.
It is now. I remember buying the soundtrack 2 weeks before launch, and people were like, what is this? So, and it ended up becoming the top selling album of that year.
Yes.
Which is crazy for a soundtrack release, but
Right.
even for a children's music release, that was so far-fetched.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was on the heels of the Cheetah Girls, right?
Yeah,
They
but
were already out, right?
But I don't think there was this much momentum with the first Cheetah Girls movie.
Yeah. Probably not.
Because the second one came out right after this. But the reason why I brought you here is because High School Musical was really the first property that I remember having this much impact as far as Disney Channel content then transferred over to Radio Disney. I mean, you had the talent in there recording liners and stuff for you and
Mhm.
promotions pretty early on. So,
Mhm.
do you remember anything about the lead up to premiere or anything like that?
Well, I mean, certainly at that point, we were doing a lot of features with artists. And once, Bob, you know this, that when we first started Radio Disney, nobody at the home office, let's say, really paid attention to us. We didn't make a lot of noise. But when it started to click with the audience, the tween audience, and parents, and it started to gain momentum and favor, it was like you could hear some sort of crank going ring, and they looked at us and like, what are y'all doing? And it piqued their interest. And our position was strongly guided by the audience. So we had been doing musical research with the tween target on around music. That's how we decided what we played. And that coupled with requests, the number of requests that we got from kids. So we had some really good intelligence on music that I would dig into with a fine-tooth comb and try to determine, what was the metric that made it work for kids? What made it something they loved? Because, in all honesty, when we started, what we thought would work is not what worked. All of that to say, we had a lot of data points that I would use to go and share with Walt Disney Records, Hollywood Records, and Disney Channel to help them understand what we saw kids were loving musically. I can't take credit for High School Musical by any stretch of the imagination, but I hope and I feel like they took those notes, that data, that intelligence, so to speak, to heart. In particular, they had a guy there, Jay Landers was at Walt Disney
Yeah,
Records. Yeah.
A&R.
Yeah, he's amazing. Now he's Barbara Streisand's musical director or something. He listened. I know he listened. And I think that guided some of their choices with the Cheetah Girls, with Raven. I mean, Hilary Duff was certainly her own phenomena. Again, I don't take credit for how those people did their music. However, I think they listened and understood that the music that they were doing for High School Musical was gonna work.
Because you knew if you had a musical property or any
Mhm,
type of song
mhm.
connected to a film, you knew that Radio Disney wouldn't play it. You had a backdoor way in to
Yes.
whatever was going on. But I feel like with High School Musical, the momentum for this and the relationship with
Mhm,
Radio Disney and Disney Channel like
mhm.
almost increased tenfold.
Yes. Well, the Walt Disney Company understands the value of promotion. And so we worked in tandem to see how we could make the most of it together. We are all in this together. Ha ha.
Yeah,
Um, but together to make it pop. I mean, look, if it didn't work with kids, it wouldn't have worked. I mean, no matter what sort of promotion you put behind some things, it just didn't work because it wasn't right. But we felt like this was right, and we joined forces to get the artisan to do all the liners and to do all the interviews um, and certainly Disney Channel and the Walt Disney Company understood that that was important to the success of the property. The kids were all very eager, I would say some more than others. Corbin Blue was a big help. We had a little bit of Zach and Vanessa, but the biggest Corbin was kind of the one that kind of showed up a lot. Um, and it was, the stars aligned and it was a great content and great music, and we had the right vehicle to get it out to kids, and then kids took it from there. I
yep.
mean, and that was the beauty of Radio Disney and Disney Channel at that time. I can't speak to it now because I don't really watch it, but it was the beauty of it is that we put it out there and kids took it. If it was theirs, they waved the flag everywhere. And if they didn't care about it, it kind of bombed.
And what amazed me about the High School Musical phenomenon, it lasted a whole year. And
Yeah, at least, right?
for like a kid's property to
Yeah, yeah.
have that, and it was quick. because it was the movie premiered in January, and
Mhm.
the tour happened in December. So it's like they kind of knew what they had.
Yeah. Well, and it probably takes a little bit of time in that year to coordinate those schedules for the tour, right? Because
But there has to be kind of an inkling to know that this is gonna work.
well,
And
Gary had a great gut. I mean, I'll never forget when he handed me Miley Cyrus. Same thing. I think I got something with this kid. Look at her now. My gosh. So, I mean, he had a really good gut, and I think that's the thing with creative, with radio and with television. You have to have the data, so the research to back it up, and you got to have a gut because it's all not one or the other. And Gary Marsh has a really good gut and instinct on obviously the things that he puts on the air.
and we can't not talk about the whole High School Musical phenomenon and talk about where you guys were at in Radio Disney's kind of lifespan. I mean, Radio Disney was about to celebrate its 10th anniversary. So
Mhm.
you had the Totally 10 stuff, you had
Mhm.
the Jonas Brothers, and then you had this big phenomenon with High School Musical. So anything you touched, you had a grip on all of us.
Mhm.
But it's one thing to come to be on Disney Channel, to be on Radio Disney, but to kind of ease your way into pop culture, like everywhere, that's a whole different thing.
It was so fun. It was so fun.
So, what was your reaction when it premiered and it broke records and all the? I mean, again, it's High School Musical is not your fault. It's
No,
but like when you see something like that, you're like, yeah, yep, I knew it.
it just felt really good. I mean, I felt good about it. I felt great for the piece itself, for our team to have something to really lean on, for our talent to have such exciting opportunities to showcase the talent. And it was great. It was like I can't even, it's like riding a rocket ship or something, in that business, you're either just trying to get the rocket to launch, or when you get it to launch, it is a really fun experience. And the screams in the building, my gosh, when you would go to one of those shows, it was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, it was a great time. I never forget the Tully 10. Let's see, we had Vanessa was a host. Zach, I think, made an appearance. I think they
And this
all,
must have been the LA show.
yeah, it
This
was the LA show. Yeah. I think they were almost, I know for sure, Vanessa. Um, and I'd have to go back at my things to see, maybe Lucas, but um, the screams, just, I'll never forget that. I probably have hearing damage names. And they were just kids themselves. That was the other thing. So for them, life exploded really fast. Ashley Tisdale probably was the only one who already had some experience in that world.
and a lot of them weren't ready for it. Like you hear stories about how they didn't nobody expected this because everybody Kenny Ortega was like, this is gonna change your life, and you hear that all the time,
Mhm.
but it really skyrocketed for them.
Yeah. Because wasn't that at the same time that Zach and Vanessa were dating?
Yeah, it was right
Yeah.
around that time.
Mm-hmm.
And the tabloid got to him real quick.
Of course they did.
Yeah. So on the music side of things, as far as High School Musical, when did you find out, if at all, that it wasn't Zac Efron singing in the first movie?
Gosh, it was a long time. I don't remember exactly, but I don't think it was straight away. When did you
Because
find out?
I found out through our dear friend who we miss and love very much, Tommy Ramirez, Tommy
Oh.
too,
Mhm.
and he broke the story with Drew Healy and all of that stuff. And I
Ah,
remember thinking, you know what? That sounds right.
yeah, that's so funny. I've forgotten all about that.
And I think about how prior to High School Musical, you were always working with Disney Channel. You were, I mean, In Sync got their start by doing a Disney Channel concert, and that meant the airplay on Radio Disney, and then Lizzie McGuire and Hilary Duff. But I never saw this whole relationship between both entities kind of intersecting in such a way where it was so seamless.
Mm-hmm.
And do you feel like other properties that came across your desk were trying to kind of like dovetail off that success?
I would imagine, but I don't remember what came after High School Musical. It was such a big entity. It's like saying you landed on the moon and then, oh yeah, we went somewhere else and now I can't remember where it was because that was such a big
Well,
deal.
Jonas Brothers. Well, Jonas Brothers
Sure.
kind of became a thing, but
Right, but they didn't have on a television property that was that explosive, right? They did the Jonas Brothers show
after,
after, and it wasn't as good.
no,
I
no, it
love
was
that. I
not.
like that.
It was not.
You know, they wanted to be the Monkees revised, but
That's exactly what that was.
yeah,
That's exactly what that was.
yeah, it didn't take. And I think they're just, you know, again, that speaks to my point. You can do the alignment on everything, but if the kids don't dig it, if the kids don't like it, dig it sounds like I'm 1,000 years old. If the kids don't take to it, then it's over. It doesn't fire up. I mean, certainly they love the Jonas Brothers anyway, but the TV show was not what their catalyst was. It was the music. And being three young boys that also helped. But yes, I think the alignment with Disney Channel, it began with the Cheetah Girls. It's like when we were trying to get alignment with them with Hilary Duff and That's So Raven, it was like we were the little sister down there that they
You,
didn't really pay any
you,
attention to.
you were an afterthought.
Yeah, we were an afterthought and oh, yeah, okay, you know, that kind of thing. Whereas by the time Cheetah Girls flew and then this came, I think they realized the combined strength of the entities. Um, and that's I think was Eisner still there then or was Iger there by then? I have to remember. I think Iger was there by then.
Or I think it might have been at the tail end of Eisner. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
maybe.
But the other thing that's worth noting is that this soundtrack was #1 on iTunes for months.
Uh-huh.
And digital consumption of music was just at its infancy. Did the iTunes sales impact airplay by the time this came around?
No,
It
you
was
mean
all it was always based on
yes,
us.
yes.
Yeah.
I can tell you that without a doubt because we were validated and could sell ads based on our ratings. And at the time, they were just starting to think about doing ratings in Arbitron for kids 6 to 12. And so we lived or died by that. So in my mind, as the program director, it had to be something the kids would like, not based off airplay because AirPlay or iTunes, that could be grandma. I mean, look at Kids Bop, okay? The sales on Kids Bop were astronomical.
And they still are.
But we never played them because who's buying them? Are kids buying them? No.
No.
Your aunt or your grandma or somebody who has no idea.
Who think it's okay? Who think
Yes. Who thinks, oh, this would be nice. It's not driven by the kids. And so AirPlay, whether it's iTunes or sales, was difficult to ascertain if it's really the kids because in many cases, most cases, they don't have the money to buy that stuff. So
yeah, we were using our parents' money.
yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how much High School Musical merch I saw in the school hallways or owned myself. It was unlike anything I've seen before. And I think the reason why at least I gravitated to it not only was the music aspect of it, but like it was we could relate everybody could relate to at least one character in that movie.
uh-huh. Who did
And
who did you relate to?
I think I was a mix between like Corbin's character and like definitely not Zach. Maybe Lucas. Like there were so many.
Uh-huh.
Like there was
Relatable.
something for everybody.
Yep. Yep. It was relatable. And high school is such a formative time for people, that you're quickly brought back there. So
So,
yeah.
so this movie was released shortly before, I would say a year before you left Radio
Mhm.
Disney. And one of the stories that you always tell me is when you got your plaque
Mhm.
signed by everybody.
Mhm.
Do you remember that day?
No, tell me.
Well, you were like Corbin was always the first one to sign anything for you or do anything for you. And it really shines through. And but
Mhm.
it shows you how big it was for an album to go platinum like that is crazy, especially for a kid's release.
Yeah, I'm right. What does it say? Hang on, I gotta see what my record says. It says multi-platinum. It sold 3 million. Was the thing I had. I'm sure it sold more after that. But and they don't do that. I mean, records don't do that anymore. It's crazy.
No, they don't because everything is so segmented now.
Mhm.
It's not. We sound like the old people, like get off my lawn, but like but it's like but even then it was so unheard of. And then of course you had a sequel coming out shortly about a year after this. So you guys were really on the receiving end of all of this High School Musical love. And I'm sure that whenever Vanessa or Ashley or Corbin went solo, you had first dibs on that too with Hollywood Records.
I'm sure. Now, see, so I left in the fall of 2007, right when number two was about to come out, right? I think
Yeah.
that's so I wouldn't have been privy to all of that.
Do you have any favorite moments from any times with the cast or any things that stick out to where?
Well, I got to go to the party in LA for the premiere. That was fun. Um, I loved certainly Corbin was the most friendly of them all. He was such a neat kid. And Get Your Head in the Game. Gosh, what a great song.
Yes, love it.
Such a great song.
You had B5 doing the pop, pop version of that too.
Right? I forgot about that too. Oh my gosh. Um, I mean, I think my contact with the talent was not as direct as my air talent's contact with them. So, for example, if we arranged it to happen, I didn't go in the studio and stick my nose in there. I let them do their thing. And so I would see them, meet them. Certainly, they were all talent. They were all artist kids. So, but Corbin's the one that sticks out to me because he was the most gregarious, I think.
Yeah, he still is.
Most accessible as well. The most accessible. Um, I think Zach and Vanessa were dealing with all their relationship things and were a little standoffish because they were probably nervous about all the press attention to them and what they were.
It's so funny because I remember an interview that Vanessa did for Radio Disney, and
Mhm.
she was talking about how much she loved listening to Radio Disney as a little kid with her sister. And then she ended up singing the hamster dance on mic, and Jack was like, "What is this?"
That's funny.
I haven't heard that in close to 20 years, and I
Whose
still
show was
remember
that on?
it was on. Do you remember the Radio Disney podcast that you guys had
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
for when you guys were really getting into that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was through that, and
Okay.
I just remember hearing that and thinking like, is this a fever dream right now? Like, it was just it was so fun to hear that. So
That's funny.
what do you think made High School Musical so different because it was originally labeled as the modern day Grease. But what do you think kind of set it apart and made it its own entity? I know we've been kind of hinting at it throughout our time together, but is there anything that really solidifies it for you?
I think that the quality of the film, the subject matter, the relatability that you spoke of earlier, coupled with the momentum that the tween music industry, I'll call it, had at the time, everything is timing. I'm not certain that it would have been as explosive at a different time. But it was at a time when the tween music was at a fever pitch, and we were selling incredible amounts of music because finally adults were listening to their kids on what they wanted to hear, and finally adults were understanding that kids needed contemporary music, not baby music, and it was comfortable for them with the lyrical standing. I just think it was a convergence of all of those things. And when you have that happen and you have such a wide distribution network for kids to get it, they didn't have to buy it, they just turn on the radio.
And if they bought it, great.
Yeah. And then parents saw, oh crap, well, I guess I better buy that. So, I think that that's it. I mean, I think anything in media, my heart says, not only does it need to be relevant, relatable, good quality, it also has to hit timing at exactly the right time in the world.
And the only thing that I've ever seen do it since
Mhm.
this
Mhm.
is Glee.
Oh, yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Because the concert tour and all of the promotion behind that, and it's like people love positivity, and that's what all of this. Yeah, there were the moments with clicky people and just like the drama of high school of it all, but it's really about banding together and finding your group of people and connecting with people. That's
Hmm. And kids can tell if something is inauthentic faster than most grown-ups.
No, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but
Yes,
you bring up a good point.
yes.
Was there anything that was brought to your attention that somebody was either trying to pitch you or show you or a new act, and you're like, kids, kids, you're not feeling this.
Yes.
If you want, you can tell me off the record. But 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 like I just think about like how many acts came and went on Radio Disney, and that's no fault to you, but some of it clicked, some of it didn't.
Yeah. So BB Mac was one that took a minute.
Really.
Yeah, it didn't attract the way they anticipated it would. So there were a lot of arm wrestles over BB Mac. They finally took off and had one hit that worked, but it took
Yeah,
forever.
back here. Yeah, yeah.
Um, Oddly enough, Aaron Carter in the very beginning didn't take off, but he finally did. I felt my gut told me he would, and he finally did. I mean, it wasn't like 3 years, but it took a minute. Usually, I can't remember the name of the feature we had that we would play a record and kids would vote on it.
Oh, kick it or pick it.
Yeah,
Music mailbag.
music mailbag, yes. And it was usually pretty spot on. They told us, but we blew up so many phone trunks with them calling in that, we had all the data points in the world, and trying to think of anybody else that just sort of fell flat.
I have one, but I'll tell you off for the record.
Okay.
'Cause I don't even know if you'd remember them. But it's crazy how you think about how you had your finger on the pulse with so much, and some of the best stuff didn't hit beyond Radio Disney, and it makes me sad.
I know, right? Because there is a There's a line in the sand for grown-up adult radio stations to play quote unquote kids music. And that was the actual thorn in our side with artists because they knew if they made it on Radio Disney, they would be deemed a kids act and then
Yeah.
they couldn't make it in adult world. Now, a similar experience exists with Christian music.
Yeah.
So when we played Switchfoot, they didn't really like it because then they wouldn't get played. But they also, Switchfoot didn't want to be known as a Christian band because they knew that line existed. They were Christians, but they didn't want to say they were a Christian band. So a similar line.
Is that similar to like Jump 5?
Yes, yes, they never crossed over. Exactly.
And then on a more positive side, I mean, you guys picked up Beautiful Soul like a year and a half before Top 40 picked it up.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
just it's a cycle.
It is. It is. And then, but Top 40 would get credit for it. That was another, like, wait a minute.
It wasn't until 2008 that the Jonas Brothers had a Top 40 hit.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, they didn't have a hit until 2019. So it really shows you that people kind of view these kid-centric acts in the beginning, and they don't give them their day in the sun. But I feel like with High School Musical, everybody tried to give them a fair shot because everybody saw the momentum behind it.
It was undeniable at that point. Yes. Well, and you also had the backing of a major television exposure with Disney Channel, whereas some of the others that we spoke about did not.
It doesn't matter if you're on a soundtrack for a movie or something like that. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But when you think of High School Musical, what's your favorite song? What's your favorite moment?
Well, my favorite song is Get Your Head in the Game, followed by We're All in This Together.
And Breaking Free was your number one for like 6 weeks.
That's probably why it's not my favorite song because you'd get tired of it after a while, right?
Yeah.
But I think as far as what's in the movie, gosh,
Yeah.
I couldn't pick. It's all really good. I always remember the dance sequence in the cafeteria.
Oh yeah.
Right? Well, and when I was in college, I was trying to go to Broadway to be a dancer. I was studying to be a dancer. So I loved those sequences, of course.
And I don't know if you know this, but one of the main choreographers for High School Musical was 18's one of 18's backup dancers.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
So the Radio Disney connections and the pop connections really they cross over a lot.
Right. Right.
But I wanted to thank you for hopping on. I knew talking to you that you'd have a different lens on it from another perspective because you saw the potential of it before we even could. So
yeah, I still have that. I still have that dub too.
Oh wow.
Dude, I am so not getting rid of it.
Collector's item.
Yes, and I'm never sharing it with anyone because I don't want them to come and take it back from me, but I have it.
So how early was that, would you say?
Before the movie was released? Gosh.
Like a year?
Maybe 6-9 months because it wasn't finalized, but they had shot it, so it was in edit. So yeah, it was probably 6-9 months ahead.
To wrap this up, when you think of High School Musical, how does it make you feel?
Oh, it gives me the best memories because it was authentic. It was the real deal. It was a culmination of so much hard work on everybody's part that really resonated and worked. And that makes me happy because that's what we all were working for.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a treat to talk to you, and it's always a good excuse to have you back to talk about the good old days as we approach Radio Disney's 30th anniversary. We'll have you back on in November to hang out. We'll do some fun stuff with that.
Ooh, I have to get out all my old stuff and go through it to find all that stuff out. That'll be fun.
do you guys mind introducing yourselves and your involvement within making this happen, this juggernaut?
Oh, sure. Okay, my name is Kimberly Luce. During the launch of High School Musical, I was the director of program scheduling for Disney Channel. I had been at the channel for quite some time at that point. So I had scheduled and planned most of essentially what is known as the decom phase. I scheduled everything from You Lucky Dog going forward. Essentially, I think there's some question about whether Under Wraps was the first or You Lucky Dog was the first. I feel Under Wraps was the first that hit, but You Lucky Dog, I think technically was the first under the new brand. So I scheduled that one all the way through to, as we're talking about, through High School Musical, essentially at Disney Channel. So a scheduler is the one who decides kind of like when it's going to air. And then my group would also be the ones who planned all the things that we can talk about later, like the dance-alongs and the sing-alongs and how we were going to use it going forward.
I'm Michael Healy. I was allegedly head of original movies for the time that Kimberly was talking about, from Lucky Dog up to past High School Musical. But High School Musical was sort of one of the high points in that string of 80-some Disney Channel original movies that we made in those days. And as head of original movies, I had to liaise with the bigger bosses and try and keep an artistic vision of what we wanted to make, and then carry out their wishes and see to it that the movies had a consistency and had made sense and looked good and didn't go terribly far over budget. But in things like High School Musical, where it was a big success, there were not too many questions asked about budgets or anything like that. It was the kind of thing that everybody was a hero. So and Kimberly did a wonderful job, by the way, with all those things that she mentioned. She was an absolutely essential part of the decom process. And as we used to say, it's not just the movie; it's the whole franchise. That was the big deal.
It was a movement, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But do you guys remember the first time that you heard even an inkling of this musical being shot? I would say in probably around mid 2005 or so.
Well, we've been trying for a long time to make a musical that everybody could agree on. And there were a few false starts because of egos and things like that. But then when we finally got Kenny Ortega on board to change a script that had been about a High School Musical into a High School Musical, that's when we really got going. And that was about 7 or 8 months before High School Musical finally aired. He really changed it with help from Steve Vincent and a number of us to put music to it rather than start as a musical and move backwards. We did it the other way around.
Yeah, I don't even know when the first time I heard about it. We used to have a process where we were like every Thursday we would go through kind of what we were working on, and that would be shared at kind of different points of development. So it's probably the first time I heard about it. I would say about a year back. To Michael's point, when we first started talking about it, it was not a musical.
No.
I'm trying to think of like Cheetah Girls had launched, I think, the fall before.
Yes, correct.
And that had been the most success we'd had in music at that time, with Cinderella kind of being a somewhat of a minor hit for the channel. And we had one I loved, which had music in it, which was Stuck in the Suburbs?
Stuck in the Suburbs, yeah.
Yeah, I really liked that one, to be totally honest. I thought the music was great.
With a very unknown Taran Killam.
Oh, yeah.
So we definitely been doing it before kind of we got to High School Musical, but High School Musical was in and of itself a completely different beast.
Because the thing with Cheetah Girls and these other movies that you mentioned, we had music in almost all of our movies, but we didn't have break into song kind of musical movies ever, because we thought we didn't know whether the audience would go for it.
It was always kind of like needle drops or whatever.
Needle drops, or there's a performance going on and the Cheetah Girls are performing, those kinds of things. So we did those a lot, but we didn't do something that was really, here's a story we want to tell through music, pretty much primarily. And that was the risk of High School Musical, because some of the big shots didn't really think that was going to work, or didn't know whether it was going to work, and were afraid to spend any money on it because of the fear. So it was chancy.
It was an interesting time too, because we were changing the strategy of movies around that time. In the kind of late 90s, the original strategy had been, God, Michael, I think you were there by that point, was we were originally trying to do one DCOM a month.
Yeah, I was there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was just brutal in terms of, from my standpoint, not too bad, because I had something new every month to schedule.
Yeah,
you get a little bit lost in the shuffle if you're trying to promote and launch a new movie every single month.
Yeah.
It's funny you bring that up, because before this, I did some research, and the year with the most DCOMs was 2000 with 12. So
yep.
One every month.
Yeah, we managed it 1 year. 1 year we did 12, and we never did it again.
And they threw it back in my face after it was over and said, well, we didn't do our best work this year. And I said, well, we did 12 movies, though, and we sort of established that Friday night as a place to go for movies. And I think without that ambition of doing so many, they didn't all have to be winners, but they had to be reliable, and they had to be entertaining, and they were that. And so later on we got more precious about it, but that was quite a year of 12 movies. I had to reintroduce myself to my wife and kids afterwards.
You mentioned earlier that you weren't sure, that a lot of people at the channel weren't sure that this was going to work.
That's right.
So when was the moment that people started to get it?
Well, I think when the dailies started to come in, and when we were actually in production, and the dailies arrived, and the dailies kept getting stolen from my office because people wanted to see them and wanted to, and heard them being played in the halls, and you heard laughter and people cheering and doing all that kind of thing. The proof was in the pudding, sort of. We knew that we liked it. We still weren't sure whether 11-year-olds were going to like it. But it was actually in production that they finally started to get faith in it. But not a lot of faith. I mean, they didn't do a big premiere or a big parties before it or anything like that. It really had to prove itself before it became everybody's favorite.
Yeah, it's kind of going back to what I was talking about. Like at that point, Cheetah Girls had been our biggest hit. I think before that, it was Luck of the Irish.
Yes.
So we had some successes, and sometimes they get little blurb write-ups. But I don't think outside of Disney Channel, like the rest of Disney corporate wasn't looking at us as this, hit maker or beyond the preschool brand, of a merchandise maker or things that extend beyond just the movie. Like they liked the movies just fine, and they understood their value to the channel, but in the outside ecosystem, the importance of it to Radio Disney, to the merchandise, to the parks, that had never really happened before.
It was not a content driver, as they say.
Yeah. So that started with High School Musical.
Yeah, and I think it was partially because we could have done it with other movies, but we had a rather timid upper management who just didn't want to take chances on these sorts of things, didn't want to be embarrassed if they failed. And so we were very cautious as a whole group, I'd say, until we couldn't be anymore because the hit was too big.
Well, I was thinking back to, because I was there premiere night when it premiered, and I remember buying the soundtrack 2 weeks earlier And my mother going, "What is this?" And she goes, "I never heard of it." And she goes, and I go, "You will."
That soundtrack was the first inkling that we had that something was different.
Yeah.
Because I think we started airing them either over Christmas or certainly by New Year's, because that was the promotional window was open and kids were home from school. So from a scheduling standpoint, we'd always start our promotions in that period when kids were home from school. And not our first thing that had music. So I can't say we did anything super different initially, which is, we put a couple of the songs full length up on the channel, and some cut down versions of them, and, in between in the interstitials. But the soundtrack came out first, and it was selling in ways we'd never seen before. And people were like, "What is this?"
It ended up being the top-selling album of that year.
Yeah, among all albums. Yeah,
which is bonkers. It's crazy.
Trust me, we thought it was bonkers too.
Bonkers is the right word.
Because I've always been fascinated by charts and facts and all these things, and it's like that's never happened. I mean, by the middle of 2006, the soundtrack album was already 3 times platinum, and who knows where it is now. So I keep saying bonkers, but that's really what it is, because it's unheard of.
Yeah, for a kid's record to be the number 1 record of the year too is amazing, I think.
And I think that anyone tells you that we saw that coming, no, we did not. We thought we had a good product. We were all very proud of the movie.
Yep.
I was not involved with production. That was Michael's group. And when we saw the movie, we were like, "Michael, you guys made this great movie." But we'd never had a super success before either. So everything that happened from then on was completely new to us.
I'm with you.
So what I've always wondered is, how soon do you have to get the final in for airing the movie that January?
Well, I think we did it as all TV works. You do it last minute. So I think we had it in maybe a couple of weeks before it actually aired. I've had tighter schedules than that, but that was about where we got to, and it was fairly comfortable, really a fairly comfortable schedule. But because we had so many pre-records and things like that a lot of it was just slotting in the rest of the dialogue and that sort of thing, and there we had it. It was a finished product. Yeah,
we usually start promoting it about 6 weeks out at that point.
Yeah.
I don't think we were doing much earlier then. I think now they probably maybe go 8. But I feel like we had to have something footage to work with to start making promos about a month before that. So around November, I think we probably needed to start having footage to make promos. But promos can make promos. Veronica Davison's team was amazing, and they could make promos from parts of the movie. They didn't have to have a locked cut.
Yeah, rough cuts and temporary mixes and things like that they used very effectively. So. But then we polished it like crazy when we finally finished it and got it on air.
So the night it airs.
Yeah.
What is your expectation versus what happened?
Well, I think that this probably is a little more my side of things. So having scheduled most of those movies, if you remember back then, I believe we were running it probably twice on Friday, once on Saturday, once on Sunday.
That's right.
A very pretty typical pattern of how we'd run it. We'd run it back to back on Friday night, and then once on Saturday and once on Sunday. Sometimes we dropped the second run. So it might have just been 1-1-1, but that was super typical of how we'd run it. And then we'd run it again, maybe midweek. Right. So we'd be like, okay, let's get another run.
Maybe like a Wednesday or something.
Yeah. So I had gotten very, very good at being able to predict the success of any Disney Channel original movie by how the ratings were for those first 4 runs.
Uh-huh.
They were real indicative of what was going to happen with a movie. Like, was it going to be a solid worker, solid performer? Was it going to be like something we were just not going to schedule too much? And that was usually enough time so that you'd come in on Monday, you'd get the fast national ratings. And then if you needed to tweak the schedule, you would start doing that. Like, oh, we might need to pull some runs off, or we need to add some runs on. But the company would order special fast nationals because weekend ratings wouldn't come in until Tuesday.
Yeah.
Special order ratings. So you'd get not the final, but the early ratings on Monday. So we'd have some kind of idea on what to do. And for the first time ever, the ratings grew from Friday, Saturday to Sunday. It wasn't dropping at all. That had never happened before. Like, literally, I remember Gary Marsh called me and said and asked me, Kimberly, have you ever seen this? I said, no, I have nothing to base this on. I've never seen a movie do this. Yep. In the 80 movies I'd scheduled up to that point, nothing had ever grown across the airings. Some of them have done well, but all 3, this thing was just straight out of the gate up. And I think by Wednesday, I actually think the Wednesday like either matched the Saturday or did better. Like, it was nuts. And at that point, we were living in a completely different world. Like, at that point, we're like, we've never seen this.
Yeah.
Ever.
The way I think of it is, it was High School Musical's world, and we're just living in it, because that's just really what it was like. You could not escape this, and especially in the early airings, I probably caught all of them. I was a part of those ratings.
Those were the days when the Disney Channel was really worth something, because it had that kind of exclusivity of showplace. And when we lost that, I think they lost a lot of revenue, among other things, but a lot of the importance of Disney Channel itself.
It was nuts. And so I think bonkers is the appropriate term.
It's the word of the day.
Yeah, exactly. So I do think that like a common thing now would be, I think, if you compared it to K-pop Demon Hunters, right? Like,
yeah.
It was the K-pop Demon Hunters of its day, which is that nobody saw this coming. And now you have this gigantic hit, both musically, and then, Michael, I'm sure, is almost immediately getting like, are we going to do another one? Mm-hmm. And fortunately, at least it was live action, not animation, so it wouldn't take 4 years to produce it.
And it's funny because before K-pop, the only thing I could compare it to was Glee.
Yeah.
On Fox. Because
where did they ever get that idea?
Yeah, we were before Glee, right? It was us first.
Oh, long before.
But it was like the whole momentum of it all. Because I believe that, like, the tour contract for them was similar to the tour contract for the High School Musical. You guys were really the blueprint for what was to come.
No. Yeah. Well, somebody had to be first.
Exactly. So I don't know what was going on in Michael's world, because, in the show must go on, there's always another movie after, and you're living in the next thing.
Yeah.
But once you knew you had a hit, then the question becomes, how do you sustain this? Right. How do you keep it in the zeitgeist? And that was not, like I said, that was the piece we'd never really had to do before. We'd had successful movies and we knew how to schedule them and how to kind of parse them out slowly and not overburn them out. All that, we knew how to do from 80 previous movies. What we didn't know was how to do all that with people calling and asking for our stars and them wanting to go on morning shows and news shows, and how we were going to, keep that level of success until we could get another one out, which would be minimally, was a year and a half?
Yeah.
Wasn't we shot it that next summer. So
2 years maybe?
Because it was the tour, and then that following August was...
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that all of that was crazy. And that's really kind of what Michael is saying, is that that's the second piece, is then that's when my team sat down. Michael's done at that point. He's figuring out what High School Musical 2 is going to be.
Right. We had big pictures after High School Musical 2, yeah. In fact, that summer, as I recall, Jump In had higher ratings, initial ratings, than High School Musical, and so did the Cheetah Girls movie that we had.
You know, you struck while the iron was hot, and especially you, Kimberly, because right after the first movie airs, you're already shooting wraparounds for the sing-along and the dance-along and all that.
Yep.
So
I mean, we did those fast. Like if I think that was probably 7, 8, 9, probably Art Spiegel's group who did those. But yeah, that is us sitting down in a room and asking those questions. What do we do now? How do we enhance these runs to make them to the dance along, the sing along, the pop up version, how the wraparounds with the hosted nights, like all of this gets planned out then. And because now you have to start shooting it, and actor availability becomes an issue and things. And I think also importantly, when we talk about the kind of what High School Musical did for the channel is, mega hit. And I'm not kidding when I say we'd never seen anybody like the morning news shows calling up our talent people and saying, hey, we want to talk to these kids. But we were launching Hannah Montana literally 2 months, less than 2 months later. It was in March.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows if it would have been as big a success, but we had this gigantic asset to now launch Hannah Montana off of. So we were also cognizant of that, of protecting. Like I said, we did not want to burn out High School Musical because we needed it to launch Hannah Montana.
Because if you think about it, like the following November, Miley went on tour with the Cheetah Girls before High School Musical was even a blip.
Yes.
Could you imagine if it was the other way around? If she went on the High School Musical tour and it would have been crazy. So like nobody knew what they had until the next Monday when everybody goes in the office and goes, "What was that?"
Yeah. When during that tour, I introduced Zac Efron to all the people on the Cheetah Girls tour, and because nobody knew who he was either, because High School Musical had not run yet, and he was charming, wonderful, and I said to him though, I said, buy your underwear now, because you're not going to be able to go into Sadler's or Sears or any place like that, because you're going to be overwhelmed when they see you in High School Musical. And he said, oh, okay. And that was our normal kids in DCOMs would get swamped after they first appeared on Disney Channel. But I knew that he was going to get ultra swamped, which he did.
You've been trying to work with him for a while too, hadn't you? I feel like I saw Zac in a couple of other things that maybe didn't go all the way.
No, we really didn't. I mean, I give Judy Taylor all the kudos for that. I'm sure he was on her radar, but no, the only one I want to take credit for is my dear friend Kenny Ortega, who hates me, but who I've been watching Kenny since before there were Disney Channel original movies. When the only movie that really did extremely well on Disney Channel was Hocus Pocus, and I thought, we got to get this guy, And at that time, Kenny was in director's jail because he performed badly on Newsies, and it was kind of a bristly guy, and so we brought him out of director's jail and had him do this, and I had to have long meetings with his agent saying, now you've got to be nice to people, you've got to be you can't blow up at people, you can't be a diva, and he and the agent agreed to that, and so then that was the beginning of a beautiful relationship. sort of.
I never understood the Newsies hate. I literally loved Newsies from the very beginning. Had the soundtrack on cassette tape in my car. Like, it was crazy.
I don't think there was any hatred of Newsies itself. I think it was that he was so nasty to people at the network, or I mean at the studio, that he didn't get the kind of support he could have used to promote it well. So, we were all brought down by our personalities.
But then maybe we wouldn't have this show. It all works out for.
Yeah, it's a mysterious business.
That's true.
So, what would you say? What scene to you encapsulates the whole movie?
It's the one that makes me kind of cry every time I see it, and it's not a particularly emotional scene, but it's when they're singing "We're All in This Together," and they all join hands and dance with one another, and it's that feel good marching band in the background. I mean, it just seems to me now this is sort of if we're selling exuberance here, this is what high school exuberance is all about. And I just I love that scene and continue to every time I think about it. What about you?
I mean, similar. We're All in This Together is such a good song, so catchy.
Yeah.
But I feel like I said, I feel like Stick with the Status Quo. Yeah. I just love everything about that. I mean, the set was so amazing working with that in that big space with all of those actors and dancers and singers, and with Ashley Tisdale and Lucas Gabriel up on the balcony with her pacing back and forth while it on. I love everything about that scene.
And the great thing about that scene is that it was a dramatic scene in the very original script, and Barskini wrote every word of it, and we turned it into lyrics, which is kind of the opposite way of writing musical songs, I think. But that's why I think one of the reasons it works is because he got the dramatic beats right before we went on to the musical beats. So I'm glad you like that one.
Everybody talks about the fun nature of the film and, the relationship elements and all that stuff. But I think what drew me to it as a kid, I mean, I have a physical disability. I couldn't really play that outside that much as a kid. So the idea of championing the outsider in this whole movie, like, everybody's good at what they do, but they have to discover something inside themselves that makes them a little different, and then embrace it.
Yep, absolutely. No, I'm glad you think that, because I think that's one of the key heartfelt things in the movie. And I also think you have to remember this was not that long after the Columbine massacres.
Yeah.
And high school in those days was now a scary place, because kids were getting shot in the hallways, and there were trenchcoat mafia and things like that. And what we tried to do is sort of give high school back to the younger kids to say, it's not just going through metal detectors. It's meeting new friends and being with new groups, and if there's problems, they can be settled with a song. Not to say that that's a little bit Pollyanna-ish, but I think it gave a lot of kids a jolt of joy, and that I'm leaving 8th grade and I'm going to go to high school now, and the high school I want to go to is the one with High School Musical.
It made them realize that they could be a part of something. It might not be the School Musical, but a group of friends, or that's at least how I felt about it.
That's great. That's really good to know.
Michael, I was always curious. Was it always going to be called High School Musical, or was there an actual title before that?
No, it was always High School Musical, but it was like a working title. It wasn't a selling title or anything like that. It wasn't like, it was just an identifier. But we kept the identifier, and I think it was a smart thing to do.
Now, here's a question for the both of you going off that. What do you think? I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm just curious. What do you think would be a good alternate title for this?
I think We're All in This Together would be the title, and we often chose the titles of songs for our movies. So I think we're all on this together would have been great. What do you think, Kimberly?
Oh gosh, I'd never really thought about it. It's so ingrained as High School Musical in my head. I don't know if I've ever thought, like, is there a better title?
You can't picture it any other way.
Yeah. Because that titling is hard. I don't know if people really talk about much, but it's got to be short enough. You need it to kind of be easy to say in a promo, memorable, tell you what the musical is about. I mean, the good thing about High School Musical is that it told you exactly what it was right up front.
Yeah.
That's right. No mistaking.
You didn't really have to do digging like a Ring of Endless Light. That's a little bit of a...
No, I still don't know what that meant.
That's a bit of a reach. But
yeah, exactly.
when you think about the movie now, 20 years after the fact,
yes,
how does it make you feel?
I have very happy feelings about it. I think it was fun to be in something that big and that juggernautish. And success has many, many fathers and mothers, and failures and orphaned. But I think all of us who think we have a piece of that success are so happy we went along for the ride. And the other thing that I like about it is that I think it really did help a lot of kids. I mean, I think it helped them enjoy their lives a bit more, and it was good propaganda for tolerance and for compassion,
Acceptance.
Yeah, so I'm very proud of that.
I'd say, I think drafting a little bit off of that, it was such a great time at Channel. The team was great. I loved working with everyone. It is not a one-stop shop at all for every one of those dance along or sing alongs or anything that we had to kind of come up with. That was a bunch of people in a room kind of trying to come up with the best idea and putting their best foot forward. And I don't know if any year ever really topped 2006, because we haven't even talked about the next thing that came, which was that summer. That was the launch of DC Games.
Well, we'll have you back for that.
So, it was such an amazing time. That's really what I take out of it, is everything was firing on all cylinders, and we were making up so much of it as you go. Like I said, we had done so many of those movies. A lot of that was by habit. We knew how to make them work. We knew what they were. And then this one came along, and it was like, you had to prove yourself. It was throw you in the deep end of the pool and be like, hey, you guys have a hit on your hands. Can you maintain it? Can you build it? Can you be valuable to the company?
Exactly.
And I think the things that we proved that, this group at Disney Channel could do, rippled out from that point until streaming essentially came along. But Disney Channel at that point, that was the moment it became the thing that I think most people think about, like the brand identifier and the number of people it reached. I mean, it peaked with High School Musical 2, obviously, which is its own story and success, for goodness sake.
There you go, a whole marathon that day.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, it started with High School Musical 1, a little bit with Cheetah Girls beforehand, because I think Cheetah Girls showed what we could be. And a lot of that years beforehand was that build of figuring out what we could be. And 2006, we figured it out.
And it's interesting because my perspective is I was a 12-year-old kid trying to get into this journalism world. So while most kids were watching the movie like I was looking at charts, I was looking at ratings. I was so dialed in. I knew that it was something bigger than most kids did.
Yep. You took a professional point of view at it. And
I'm so happy to be able to talk with you guys about it. But here's my question to wrap this whole thing up. And it's a hard-hitting question. If you were to choose a character from East High to be your best friend if you met them in person, who would you choose to be your best friend?
Good question. Kimberly, help me with the name of the computer whiz.
Taylor.
Yeah, I think
Monique's character.
yeah, Monique's character. That's who I would choose because she's a little geeky, a little outsiderish, but very very smart and funny. I'm not much of a jock or a frat boy or anything like that. So I think that she's the kind of outsider I would like to be friends with. Plus, she's gorgeous.
I think in real life, I definitely would have been. That would have been true for me as well because I was the geeky, sciencey, nerdy kid in high school. So that I understand that world, but I also love drama. So I think that maybe Lucas's character, like I would have loved to have been friends with him. He would have definitely been in my orbit of somebody I was close to.
I mean, and if anybody wants free desserts, just call Zeke and he'll make a creme brulee for you.
Zeke, yeah, right.
Thanks to the both of you for joining me today. There was no better way to celebrate, in my opinion. So thank you, guys.
Well, thank you, DJ Bob. It was fun talking about it.
And thank you for being such a fan. I mean, it's just, 20 years later that we're still talking about
An
it.
educated fan, too.
Yeah.
Like you said, there were so many musical movies before, like Pixel Perfect was another favorite of mine.
Right. Yeah.
That I loved. But this one really took it to new heights and made it cool for kids to like musicals. And then there were stage productions. It was almost like not even just a cultural juggernaut. It was like a cultural reset for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It was.
Thank you both so much.